So the base of this cheesecake is phyllo, which you butter. It's thin, 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 like even thinner than paper. It's not that it's hard material to work with as much as it dries out so quickly. So I do have a damp towel on top, and I already have my melted butter ready. And I'm going to show you how I put the first one in. I don't find that phyllo is something that ever looks perfect, especially when you're trying to fit it into a pan. So I'm going to butter this first, this top layer. And when you're not using it, like I said, do keep it covered with a damp cloth. Not wet, just damp, just so it doesn't dry out. And if you get a few edges that have dried, add extra butter to it and just continue putting it in the pan, and it'll still work out just great. You won't be able to tell once you get baking in it. So as you can see how quickly and easily it tears, don't worry, it's still going to come out just fine. And I'm not trying to make a beautiful edge because it'll so delicate that after it's baked, it'll just fall out anyways and break on you. So don't worry if it doesn't look perfect, okay? So I've got kind of the base in there, and I'll keep tucking as I go. So now I'm going to go ahead and start buttering the next two and putting them in the pan. So I'm on my last fourth sheet of phyllo, and I used about a third of a cup of melted butter. It might take a little more, might take a little less. Butter's never hurting anything, so as far as if you use a little extra, it's still going to have phenomenal flavor, so don't worry about it. But again, you can see some little tears in this. Won't matter because you're layering these thin sheets. It's going to seal it off so that when you do put the filling, nothing will leak through it. So this is all set. And I'm going to put this last sheet in the pan. So we're making a bowl, basically a buttered crust bowl for your smoked salmon cheesecake. And again, it's not the prettiest, but it sure will taste awesome. And you're just trying to push it in there and make a little bit of a bowl in the bottom. There it is. Like I said, not the prettiest, but you'll be surprised how great it looks when you're all said and done and it's on that plate with some fresh dill and lemon. And it'll look great and taste wonderful. So we're going to make the filling. It only takes a couple of seconds in your food processor to make. You want to start out always with room temperature cream cheese because it'll mix immediately. I just have a half a cup of cottage cheese, and you want full fat. Don't forget when you're making things for your guests and family, especially for special occasions, full fat gives you full flavor. I have some lemon juice. I just have a tablespoon of fresh squeezed lemon juice. And I'm going to have 1 egg. That'll help bind that. You're basically making a cheesecake custard, so that'll hold that. And then what I love to do, because so much flavor comes from the zest, and I like the little flecks of color and stuff in it, I just put a little lemon zest in it too, and it just enhances the salmon when you go ahead and have it. So I just always use organic because I don't want any chemicals or wax on my fruit, but I always do wash whatever I'm using at the time. So I'm just putting a little bit in there. That looks beautiful. And it just takes a sec to mix. That's the end for mixing. And then I'm going to fold in some capers. I just have a tablespoon of capers, and that's got that tart little bit of a briny flavor to it, like if we were having smoked salmon and cream cheese and bagels. It just adds that extra little punch to it. And then I'm going to take some dill. Love fresh herbs, love cooking with fresh, these flavors are so much fresher and bolder and just taste marvelous with that lemon. Let's see, I'm going to use a little bit more. You can use more when you're using fresh. It's not as concentrated as when you're using dry. So about 3/4 of a tablespoon. If you go a little bit over, it's not a big deal. It'll just taste great. And I just give it a little bit of a chop because I'm not putting anything back in the food processor. So I'm just going to mix this together. And that is it for the filling. And then I've got some smoked salmon. I have 8 ounces, and this is wild smoked salmon. And you want dry smoked salmon. You don't want anything that would be oily because it would soak into the bottom of your phyllo. And this way it'll stay nice and dry. And I just give it a rough chop because you're just putting in the bottom of the phyllo crust that you made. I just turn it and it smells wonderful. So I'm just placing this right in the bottom. And the color looks so pretty. Doesn't that look great? And then I'm going to pour in the filling, and that's it. We're done. It only took really a couple minutes to do. So I'm just going to set that right in on top and get all this out, and I'm going to put it on a cookie sheet just in case anything comes through the pan so I don't dirty up my oven. I'm going to bake it at 350 for about 30 minutes. You don't want any wiggle in the center, maybe just barely. And then you're going to want the crust to look nice and rich and golden brown. And that is it. I'll just wipe that off a little bit so it looks perfect. Just maybe spread it out a little bit so it's nice and even. And that's going to go in the oven, and in 30 minutes you'll get to see how pretty it looks. Well, let's take a look and see how the smoked salmon is doing in the oven. Well, if you look at the crust, it looks just beautiful, golden brown, and let's see, let me put these mitts on for a second so I don't burn myself. You can see there's barely any jiggle in the top there, so it's all set. So I'm going to set it over on the rack. I'm just going to let this cool for about a half hour. It's really hot right now and you want the filling to set. When you release the spring on the spring form pan, don't worry, you are going to lose some of that little crispy edge of the phyllo. You can't help it, it's just so thin and crispy. And when it's nice and cool, then you're going to have a pretty plate to put on it. You might decorate it with some crackers or thin slices of a little French baguette. And I would garnish it with some lemon and some fresh dill, and I think you're going to find your guests are going to clean the plate. I hope you enjoy it.